How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. I hope all y'all enjoy watching episodes 3 and 4 of The Last Dance. Absolutely amazing so far. On its way to becoming one of the best sports documentaries all time, from the crazy insights to legendary Dennis Rodman, footages of the team behind the scenes to Jordan's early years against the Bad Boys, here are some of my takeaways. The incredible turnaround story of Dennis Rodman, one of the most controversial athletes all time, the most interesting personality off the court in the 90s, a monster with relentless hustle on the court. From 96 to 98, the Bulls wouldn't have been as successful without the Worm, whose unique style was on full display with the perfect coach in Phil Jackson and the two leaders in Jordan and Pippen. Fully accepted Rodman for who he was. After Pippen delayed surgery, Rodman was an absolute mess in the 98 season, didn't have the enthusiasm, wasn't motivated, even admitted he was bored as hell. Most head coaches would have suspended and punished him for his lack of effort, got himself thrown out of a game before realizing his actions, flipped the switch, knowing he was the X factor, the second most important piece on the team, the beginning of the 98 season. After an 8-7 start, sudden 18-9, combined with MJ's great leadership, who believed in Dennis, having the most improbable path to the NBA, homeless for 2 years, Rodman made the best decision of his life by not taking drugs at an early age, even though he was surrounded by it, getting an opportunity to play for Southeast Oklahoma State. Keep in mind, Rodman was already between the ages of 22 to 25 still in school. Most athletes that age in college would never make the NBA. Not knowing where life would take him, young Dennis experienced life a lot later. After figuring out his game, his unique perspective, describing how certain stars would shoot the ball, the angle where the ball spins at the rim, gave him the advantages in grabbing rebounds. As relentless a defender as anybody there was, combined with having a great coach in Chuck Daly early on, the 6'7" power forward excelled on the court. After the Bad Boys separated, Rodman didn't realize the team wouldn't last forever. His life started falling apart. Jerry Krause wanted no part of Rodman, but Bulls assistant GM Jim Stack deserves credit for convincing the Bulls to give him a chance after falling apart in San Antonio. One of my favorite parts of the episode, longtime NBA reporter, legendary Craig Sager, gave Rodman a $20 bill to pay for his fine. Which leads us to the party life of Dennis Rodman. After Pippen came back from injury, the Worm had a hard time adjusting to the third wheel, loved to compete and ball out, but the media and attention was the most draining part to his life. In the middle of the season, Dennis shockingly requested for a vacation to go to Vegas. Phil Jackson agreed without hesitation. Most coaches would not. 48 hours, acceptable. MJ was like, no way Dennis comes back in 48 hours. Who immediately wasted no time, cracked open the Miller Lite before hitting off the road, had as much energy off the court. Everywhere Dennis went was a big party. Jordan had to come up to his room, drag him out of bed, didn't indicate what was in his bed. I'm sure everybody would love to know. Celebrity Carmen Electra hid in the room. Rodman returned and felt refreshed as ever. Who knows how much he was drinking, but it had no impact. Phil Jackson didn't punish him. Rodman took a zip during a workout of kamikaze, an alcoholic beverage. Thinking Dennis needs to get back in shape, the whole team did the Indian drill. Dennis all of a sudden gets in front of everybody. The whole team needed 4 laps to catch up to him. Absolutely savage and an animal. This episode was only a few of many crazy Dennis Rodman party stories. The fact that the Bulls were able to sign him after they lost Horace Grant, Phil Jackson was a genius, being able to control the team. The fact that Rodman was so unique, one of the best defensive players all time, without much offensive skill, there will certainly never be another Dennis Rodman, one of a kind. How about Michael Jordan's insane competitive drive, refusing to go down, an amazing relationship with former head coach Doug Collins during the late 80s. The two simply clicked, both super competitive. Collins was a good player himself before being derailed by injuries. His offense was simply built around Jordan. Having his best statistical years under Collins in the 3 seasons, Jordan was not only the leading scorer and most exciting player to watch, but won MVP, All-Star Game MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and a 2-time slam dunk champion. Averaged 35 points, over 6 and 6, 3 steals, 1.3 blocks on nearly 52% shooting under Collins. Absolute monster numbers. The Bulls didn't have another All-Star in '89. While Cleveland was the better team, the 3 reporters close to MJ picked Cleveland to win in 3, 4, and 5. All the motivation Jordan needed to get himself going, saying to their faces, we took care of you, and now today we're gonna take care of you. Before Game 5, there was no way MJ would lose that series. Ended the 5th and pivotal game with the shot, one of the most iconic moments all time. Jordan averaged almost 40 points for the entire series, Pippen 15, 13, none of the other players averaged more than 11. Jordan eliminated 3 All-Stars by himself, something that doesn't get talked about much. The shot elevated the franchise. The reporters were speechless. Even after Collins' departure, Phil Jackson didn't believe Jordan would be a scoring champion again, but MJ continued to dominate anyway, was sold on the triangle, understood he didn't always need the ball in his hands. The whole team improved under Jackson, which leads us to the unique career of Phil Jackson, who was a scrappy player in the 60s and 70s, did all the little things with the Knicks, played very similar to Dennis Rodman before Rodman, won 2 titles as a role player. There was a mention about Phil taking acid during the 1970s, a liberating experience, not something he repeated, but helped him see basketball in a new way that boosted his coaching performance. Jackson started coaching in Puerto Rico, an insane experience where fans would kill chickens in the graveyard and pour the blood on the visiting team's bench. Jackson later went to the CBA, eventually hired by Krause. Phil wasn't the coach who created the triangle, it was actually Tex Winter's unique system. While Doug Collins had a different philosophy, Winters couldn't stand Collins' style, and it was only a matter of time until Phil took over. After Jackson learned more, Collins was then fired. After the '89 season, a bold move by Krause, the rest was history. With the offense, the whole team shared the ball in motion, giving the team more freedom. Jordan's numbers slightly went down. The system utilized Pippen's potential as a point forward. MJ and Phil's relationship was so deep during the title years. The best player in the game refused to play for another coach. After Jackson wasn't going to be extended after the '98 season, the Zen Master will always be remembered as one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. The Bulls franchise overcoming growing pains, going the extra mile before becoming champions. Before MJ and the Bulls won his first title, they had to go through the tough bad boy Pistons. Before any haters try to criticize Jordan for losing to Detroit, if it wasn't for untiming injuries, the Pistons could have been a real dynasty and won more titles. The team created the Jordan rules in a much more physical era, intentionally tried to hurt him, plenty of hard fouls, most of them flagrant in today's game, doing things you couldn't get away with years later, giving the team the advantage. Jordan was the lone star before Pippen's emergence. Most superstars would have fully broken down and not recover from the grueling punishment. The Bad Boys won 63 games in '89, swept the Lakers in the finals, won 12-2 in the postseason. Jordan single-handedly won 2 games against an all-time great team by himself, something that never gets talked about. Pippen had a massive headache before Game 7 of the '90 series. Couldn't see, a non-factor, 2 points on 1 of 10 shooting. Detroit won by 19. It was clear Chicago was the second best team that season. Devastated and hurt, tears came steaming on the team bus. Unlike other future superstars, Jordan and the whole team worked out right after. Under trainer Tim Groover, MJ got stronger, lifted weights, was just as competitive in the weight room, paid off big time. At the time, Jordan was criticized and labeled as not being a winner like Bird and Magic, but there was never a doubt MJ would finally reach his ultimate goal. Pippen was the one who benefited most from Jordan's leadership, drive, and mental focus. Chicago won 61 games the year after, absolutely destroyed, abused, annihilated, humiliated, and embarrassed the Pistons in every way imaginable. A convincing sweep in the '91 conference finals. The Bad Boys were so shook, unprofessionally walked off the court before the series ended. Total disrespect. Isaiah Lambeer and Jordan still not cool with each other to this very day. Bittersweet, plenty of pressure was on Jordan in the '91 finals against the great Magic Johnson. After the Bulls were nervous for Game 1, everyone counted them out, but MJ had a near-perfect performance in Game 2, the iconic layup, 15 of 18 from the field. Scottie Pippen played tremendous defense on Magic. John Paxson stepped up, knocked down some shots. Chicago won in 5. After a 7-year struggle for Jordan, a dream was a reality. Magic was grateful in defeat. The winning continued for many years later, as we'll see from the later episodes. Those were some of my quick thoughts and reactions to episodes 3 and 4 of The Last Dance. What were some of your favorite parts? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I love all of you. See you next time.